No crisps this time, Paul.
Not for this next. Not for this next podcast. No, afraid not. No.
Fair enough.
We should do a little segment, shouldn't we? A little crisp review.
There you go, Paul. There's an interesting question for you while we're waiting for Ross.
Yeah.
Did one of the crisp brands change their colours?
I'm not sure they did.
I know the answer.
Go on.
People think they did because Golden Wonder were the most popular.
Yeah, that's right.
And Walkers...
Pale blue.
Yeah,
Walkers are green.
Yeah. So Walkers had different colours for their flavours, and they became the most popular. And people thought that the most popular brand had changed their colours.
So when you eat salt and vinegar, do they taste pale blue to you, or do they taste green?
They taste green to me.
They taste pale blue to me.
Do they?
Yeah, pale blue with a hint of orange.
What are you talking about, knobheads?
Crisps.
Oh, come on, let's go on with this.
Okay. PlayStation 4's games this month are really good, Ross. Did you notice?
Yeah, it's Bloodborne and what's the other one?
It's Ratchet and Clank.
Got Ratchet and Clank completed. It's very good. Both of those games are fucking brilliant.
Right, and they're both free on the PlayStation Network this month.
If you have PlayStation Plus,
and
which is £37 a year.
Oh, that's a current offer for PlayStation Plus. £37 a year.
Otherwise, it's 50, isn't it?
Public broadcasts, ladies and gentlemen. If you own a PlayStation 4,
if I was cash rich at the moment, then I would just subscribe for a year now.
Yeah.
While it's this cheap.
That does make sense.
Have you introduced this show already?
We have not introduced the show properly yet. So welcome to Review with the Crew with Mr. Paul Brown.
Is that the end of Crispcast?
Yeah, we're not doing crisps
Crisp
anymore.
Talk.
We're done.
Crisp Talk.
No
FM.
more crisps.
What would you call it? Yeah, what would you call it? The big crunch.
The crunch cast.
Crunch with the sorry. Hello, I'm here.
Hello, Paul. Ross Murphy.
What?
Hello.
All right.
Hello. And me, Chris Quinton. God, Jesus, it's like herding cats this evening. We're here to review The Toys That Made Us and Star Trek.
Yeah.
Not all of Star Trek. That
the most recent one,
days, mate.
Discovery.
Yeah.
Which was just finished, 2 weeks ago?
That's pretty up to date for us, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, we'll talk about something within 2 weeks, maybe, if you're lucky.
Oh, don't worry, I've been watching. If we're doing the consuming section, I've been watching stuff that's fucking ancient. So yeah,
let's just review these two things. I'm sure we can chat about them for a quarter of an hour each and then we're off. Right, so Star Trek. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, get the shit one out of the way.
Do you not like the end then?
It's all right, isn't it?
I am thrilled by the ending.
Yeah, I know
by
what
the
you
last couple of moments.
I know what you're going to say.
Just because of the fact that it's Captain Pike, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's...
yeah. Spoilers for all of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, this is true.
If you haven't seen Star Trek Discovery, keep skipping through until you start hearing us talking about toys that made us.
Most people, I think, if they were Star Trek fans, will have watched this now. However, apparently, despite the fact that Netflix got a big load of subscribers and whatever the channel was it CBS? Was it CBS and Netflix? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So the channel as well got themselves a load of subscribers right at the beginning because of the new Star Trek show, but then they lost an absolute shed load of them.
Really?
Like, absolutely loads. So they are basically saying, because this time around, Netflix and the channel basically went kind of halvesies on the production costs.
Right.
But the channel are now saying, well, we're not so interested. You're on your own Netflix. So it's questionable as to whether or not we'll get another season. Shit. It's really down to Netflix.
It's Paramount, isn't it, who is the licensee, but I don't know what their channel is.
Right. There you go. Anyway, more of a review than news. Paul, what do you reckon? Did you enjoy it?
It's not much of a review, in my opinion. I like it. I liked it. I like where it was going. It was a fresh direction, but also it was still Star Trek, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It had elements from the original series, the new direction of the new movies. Had nods to all sorts of, the next generation and the rest of it. It was really good.
What I don't get, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, is I don't know why they felt this needed to be a prequel, because it would have been a lot easier to shoehorn a lot of these ideas into a sequel.
Yep. Know what you mean, yeah.
Like,
very true. Although
because everything you're doing is retconning.
The only thing to argue with that is that the point of this show is so that they could focus on a specific event that had never happened, that people have spoken about in the Star Wars universe ever since the beginning.
Star Trek
universe ever since the beginning, and then nobody's ever filmed it. So that was the start of the Klingon War.
But the other thing is, if you're looking for a series that's going to be a long, it's going to have some longevity. So you really want to take this into season 6, 7, 8, 9. It's better start a little bit early because you're coming up to that crossover point now, aren't you? Pike's not going to be around for very long, is he?
No,
so
he's going to play a part in it.
Exactly. So Pike could be in for the season 2, and then it would be Kirk for season 3.
Although this does mean that Spock's on board as well, doesn't it?
Yes, to
as
a point.
Chief Science Officer.
Or depending, what universe are we in now? Are they definitely back in their own?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But where's the other Discovery? That's a bit of a plot hole, isn't it?
But the other thing is, so are we just assuming that the Enterprise is on its first, really early in its first 5-year mission?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in distress as well. They're letting out a distress signal when the Discovery come across them.
I just think it's just so weird because you've got the movies and they're like, they've muddied the water.
Did it help seeing the uniforms from the original series? Did you notice at the award ceremony, a load of people in the background got original series
No, I didn't
uniforms
notice that.
on? So yeah, that's a little...
Because they do this weird thing in the Star Trek universe where they slowly bring in the uniforms, don't they? Like there's... like it changes through the Next Generation, doesn't it? And then it changes in Deep Space Nine, but also like they do it for the main crew, and then the extras have the old uniforms on still. It's funny, isn't it?
I suppose it would make sense that your commanding officers would get the best stuff, you know.
The best uniforms in all of Star Trek are the ones that were new in First Contact.
New in First Contact.
Colour went into the inside jacket.
Right.
So you wore your red on your polo shirt on the inside, and then you had that cool grey fucking outfit.
Right. I'll have to look at that.
Sexy stuff, especially when Shatner's doing it.
Yeah. Shatner's bassoon.
So Adam wrote in about this as well, because he's not with us today. Does that help?
So I was chatting to Ross about this before the show, and if he's going to keep doing this, then what we need to do is feed his comments into one of those free auto-read, so we can give him a stupid voice each week.
So we can call him Adam Hawkins.
Yeah.
Amazing. We'll have to do that. Maybe I can do that using the sound editing gear.
Maybe.
In post-production.
All right, then. Post-production.
I'll have a go. So this is Adam... I'll say Adam Hawkins, but...
Robo...
Funny, just funny voice Adam for now. Let's not say anything about robots because I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to do it.
I don't mind.
But we'll see. Right.
Star Trek Discovery. It's pretty cool. I like most of the season. Some weaker points in the storyline at times, but nothing that stopped me watching it. I still have an issue with the fact that Klingons look so drastically different from the other two Star Trek universes.
Well.
Hang on, if you say something like that, it's gonna...
Oh yeah, sorry, okay. I didn't realise you wanted to read it out so you could reprogram it later.
I still have an issue with the fact that the Klingons look so drastically different from the other two Star Trek universes. I had hoped it was to be explained within the season, but I think it's just a style choice. The only issue I have overall is the main character, Michael Burnham, seems to be extremely between someone brought up as a Vulcan and then an irrationally emotional human. And I do find at times it's difficult to deal with, and she isn't the greatest actor. I really love the tardigrade. Great little scientific idea.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Robot Adam. Thank you for writing in, Robot Adam. What do we think, guys?
Yeah, I agree with... Again, it comes back to... They made all these design choices. Would it not have just made more sense to have made these design choices free of any criticism by making it... That's what they did with the Next Generation. They went, do you know what we'll do? We'll go 100 years...
We'll jump
jump 100 years into the future. So then it makes it easy for everyone to be dead apart from Spock because he's a Vulcan, and then we can modernise everything and we're not treading on anybody's toes. If they'd have done that with this... Because there could have been... They could have written a really cool story where the Klingons fall out of the Federation.
Yeah, true.
There's nothing they've told in these episodes that needed to be in a prequel, and all it's done is muddy the water because you're like, how comes you got this amazing fucking 3D hologram communication and a fucking ship that jumps through space and time.
Here's an idea for you. What if they do some sort of a timey-wimey thing and they go with a Dark Ages loss of technology type thing? A step back.
No, that won't happen.
No?
It's not going to, is it?
Might
No,
do.
you can't because you've got so many... You're not alone in the galaxy.
Right.
So you're like, the humans have bombed themselves back to the Dark Age and the Vulcans are still just cruising around in their fucking fast and light ships. They'll just wait for first contact again.
Yeah.
They'll go, humans have built a rocket again.
Could they
Say
argue
hello.
that certain ships are more advanced than others because they've been tailor-made for specific jobs and journeys?
Yeah.
So they have different ways of approaching this similar sort of thing.
But it's not even that, Paul, is it? It's not just the ships and the fact visual effects are better. It's the things like just the uniforms are arbitrarily different.
Yeah.
So, did we see on board any other ships? I suppose, yeah, we saw the Admiral, didn't we? And she
Yeah.
had the modern uniform as well.
I'm not too worried about any of that.
I also
can put
feel
to one
like
side.
I did enjoy it all, and as a whole, I did enjoy it. I just felt they crammed a lot in, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did they need to go to the
I don't think they needed
like the
to do
dark
that.
universe?
I don't think they needed to do that at all. I think I preferred the first half of the season. In actual fact, I don't like the alternate dimension thing. I think it's a corny way to go.
But Star Trek's always had that, though, hasn't it? It's always had that.
Did they have to spend half a season there, though? I think I could have had more fun with them playing with tribbles and stuff, which never happened, did it?
But again,
So-
that would have been corny. So it's if you're going to go alternate dimension, you've got to stick. You can't just jump in, jump out, unless it was an accident that they're going to come back to at a later point. Okay, how did we get here? I think what they've done is they've had to weave the fabric for any future seasons. So they've had to cram quite a lot in for this season. So this is what you can expect from future seasons.
Right.
As somebody who's never seen Enterprise, does it feel like it fits with Enterprise?
I've only seen a couple of episodes of Enterprise, just because I thought it was absolutely boring. Have you seen it, Paul?
It looked really boring, so I never bothered. Yeah.
Fair enough. No, right, it doesn't look like it fits with Enterprise as far as the tech is concerned. Maybe the uniforms look fairly similar.
It's almost.
But
My problem with the uniform is it's hard to see how they arrived at the next set of uniforms.
yeah.
From the ones they've got.
Yeah,
That,
sure.
Again, it's another one of those things where those uniforms would have worked much better if it was 100 years in the future from Next
Yeah,
Generation.
sure.
I just find it a really bizarre take. I
What
find
is
it
it with the-
really bizarre choice to do it.
What is it with the
The way they've
uniforms
done
that you've got a problem with? Is it the
They just don't look like they're going to match up with the ones from the original series.
But we're
are
all
they?
going off. Isn't it just a fashion thing? So surely fashions come around.
Surely fashion doesn't matter in the future. It's all about practicality.
And it
That's
shouldn't-
what I mean.
Shouldn't matter in the Federation either, should it? You'll be wearing what you're told to wear.
Well, yeah, but there
All
is
right,
an
they're
element
not
of fashion,
fascists.
isn't there? So it's there's a restyling for each.
Fashionists.
So if as times move, and there's obviously going to be influences.
Yeah.
So that's where the new.
They look like really jazzy and complicated to make, these uniforms, though, don't they? Whereas the other ones from the 60s, for
Yeah.
instance, are quite plain.
Well, maybe that's
So-
it. Maybe these, since the war, they're going to have to cut back a bit on certain things. They're going to have to make the uniforms a little bit more simple.
All the decent seamstress and
All
tailors in
got
the
killed.
universe,
The
yeah,
whole
they're all
lot.
dead.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, don't they just make shit with replicators?
All right, Ross.
But I mean, if you've got about 6 buttons, and then you could have a bit of Velcro, which is going to be easy to replicate. It's going to be cheaper, isn't it, for a bit of Velcro?
I will start watching season 2 if it ever happens.
Yeah, I'm going to
But
watch
I
it, but
I can see myself falling off of the wagon real easy.
by the end of the season, I was not enthralled to be watching it. I was watching it out of habit. It just happened to be perfect for a Monday night after we finished the podcast, go and have dinner, watch Star Trek. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but that is Star Trek, though, isn't it? That it's fun to watch.
But if you think
It's a
about
space romp.
Next Generation, though, had classic episodes that really made you bloody just emotionally entangled you You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
And
but
let's
I mean,
not
how
even
many
start
seasons
on-
did that get into?
the Data episodes, mate. The ones where, he's
There was a
talking
lot of
about being
seasons
human.
there. I mean, the early episodes, there's probably only 1 or 2 there, isn't
Well,
there?
maybe.
They've
But
got to really get in there first, yeah.
fair enough.
Establish it. I'm on board. I thought it was probably the best Star Trek offering for a long time, next to the first movie. It's a really good offering.
Fair
And you
enough.
got to think that they're all always going to be competing in a Star Wars predominant world.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I mean, they've won
Face
those
it,
words.
nerds.
They've won that one. But again, it's, for what Star Trek it is, I think they were doing really bloody well.
Oh, well, fingers crossed we get season 2.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd recommend it to other people then? Would
Yeah,
you, Paul?
definitely. Yeah.
Ross, would you recommend it to other people?
If you like Star Trek.
Yeah. If you like sci-fi generally,
Yeah.
then go straight into it.
Like, I'm glad I didn't try and get Anna to start watching it.
Right.
Because a lot of it would be not wasted on her, but I mean wasted on her because she doesn't get the Star Trek references.
I think my other half might have enjoyed it more than I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, she's wrong about loads of things all the time.
Hi, Jilly. Anyway,
she
right.
doesn't listen to the podcast
She does, and every now and then she catches me listening to it. So,
whilst having a wank. I'm wanking over my own voice. Listen to this joke. Oh.
oh dear. Right, yeah. So, shall we?
Should we warp away from this?
Yeah.
God,
let's,
I was just going to say there's nothing hotter than a dad joke, is there?
lovely.
Oh, dear.
Three
Right.
to beam.
The
Three
crisps
beam
that made us. I mean, the toys that made us.
Bloody
toys
confectionery,
that
Paul.
aids us.
Jesus.
Can we do the crisps that made us next week?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did confectionery on a retrocast, though, didn't we? A while
Yeah, we
back.
did.
We did.
A long time
But in my
ago.
case, the crisps that actually literally made me. I mean, I lived on them for years, so.
Do you know the best, just sort of really good crisps? Remember Discos?
Oh, mate, I've just
Do you
bought,
know why
I've just
Discos
bought a
are so
multi-pack
good?
this week.
Because they had so much flavour in
Yeah.
them. They were absolutely really pokey. You eat a salt and vinegar disco and it's like...
They've got me
you look
Poundland
like
at the
Homer
minute.
episode where Homer Simpson eats the sourest gobstopper.
Oh, yeah. Shouldn't it be the crisps that made my coronary blockage then?
Yeah, well, give me 10 years.
No, that's
and
the
we'll
pot
come
noodles.
back to it. Yeah, that's the pot noodles.
Right, anyway, Toys That Made Us.
Yeah.
This is a Netflix show again, all about, well, iconic toys and branding from our era, really.
Yeah.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Some of it before our time, and I guess some of it might be after our time as well as the season goes on. There have only been 4 episodes so far, right?
So
Yeah.
far.
Do we know what the other 4 are going to be yet?
Yeah, I do.
Ross
Do you?
does.
I know.
Ross has found
Yeah,
out.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
they are, obviously, the first 2 are real easy.
Transformers
Yep.
and... Ooh,
The biggest toy in the world.
The biggest toy in the world.
Yeah.
Lego.
Yep.
Ah.
And then Hello Kitty.
Hello
and
Kitty?
Star Trek.
Oh, wow. Okay.
See, I'm surprised by those last 2.
Yes,
Star
I'm
Trek was never
surprised by
very
Star
big.
Trek.
Hello Kitty was
I
big in
think-
Japan, I think, for a little while, but never massively over here.
Oh, they sell a lot of Hello Kitty
yeah, but it's
products,
always
though, don't they?
it's not a thing that people really get into. Every little girl owns a little bit of something from
I
Hello,
think-
and then you go, "What's that?"
Hello Kitty might be competing in popularity with Spider-Man, you know.
See, I'm surprised it would have been something like My Little Pony or something,
Right.
because that's huge
Teenage
still.
Mutant Ninja Turtles, I thought, might be a...
Do you know there's
Yeah.
more male fans of My Little Pony than there are Transformers?
Yeah, they're called Bronies, mate. There's a
Bronies.
documentary about it.
Bronies.
Yeah, I know all about that.
There's a Bob's
Um,
Burgers episode about it as well. Really good one.
Yeah, I just Bronies just threw my chain of thought then. I think probably the reason the Turtles haven't got one is they've already got a really good documentary.
Have they?
Yeah, there's a really good documentary about the Turtles.
Is it called The Turtles That Made Us?
No, and it covers the comics, and the franchising of it all, and the toys and everything, and about how they've never really sold out, have they?
No.
I see what you mean, no. Keep with the times, keep it rolling.
But anyway, let's
Something
talk
new.
about the ones that we've seen.
Yes.
Okay.
Not
So
the
it starts off with
Star Wars.
has to, doesn't it? Really?
Has to, because
Yeah.
of the best bit in the whole of these 4 episodes. 3 3/4 inches.
Explaining why 3 3/4 inch figures exist. Go on, Paul.
Oh, I forgot the guy's name, but he was
He
in
the
charge
boss-
of Kenner,
the boss
wasn't
of
he?
Kenner, yeah.
Boss of Kenner.
Yeah.
And he literally just It was a fun and...
How big shall we make
yeah.
these toys, boss?
His staff
That
was
big.
saying, right, we've got to make these figures. We've got to make the figures an appropriate size so that they'll fit in a spaceship.
Yeah.
How big do you want Luke Skywalker to be? That was the specific
That was
question.
it. And it was that big.
That big.
Make them all that big.
And
that was it.
The chap got his tape measure out, measured the space between his thumb and forefinger,
Yep.
and boom, 3 3/4 inch figures were born. Because there weren't any before that. They were all 12 inch, right?
Yeah. It's insane to
There's
think.
weirdly, a lot of Star Wars, early Star Wars stuff came out as dolls, didn't it?
Did it?
Yeah, there's 12 inch of quite collectible things. The 12-inch Boba Fett, because obviously he came with so many accessories, they're hard to get a complete one.
I absolutely love the thing as well about how they weren't able to keep up with the schedule. So for the Christmas, what they did is they asked everybody to pay for like the first 7 figures in advance, and just sent them a piece of cardboard with like a cut-out image of the figure that would eventually replace this bit of cardboard. That's just genius.
The first 17, wasn't it?
Was
no,
it?
no, not that's the last 17. I think it's the first. Is it the first 12?
Right.
I should know this.
It was bloody genius. Anyway,
It was absolutely.
What a move!
It's all the internal politics as well that you just don't imagine being there. And when you watch the other episodes, so we went on to Barbie, didn't we?
Yep.
And then there's still internal politics between all these companies, isn't there? It was girls didn't... I mean, I never imagined that there was never an action figure of sorts, was there, for girls. Barbie was a fashion doll.
Yeah, true.
And then later on, they've tried since the 80s then to market her as...
A bit more actiony.
And
a bit more,
actiony
on a horse, in
yeah,
a car.
yeah. But up until that... And the fact that it was a... wasn't it a dubious Japanese doll, wasn't it? A little sex doll. That's the original design.
No, it was Italian or Swiss, wasn't it? They found it in Europe.
Japanese.
No, it wasn't. No, it was definitely like Italian or Swiss or something like that.
What was, sorry?
Well, the origins of Barbie.
Right.
It was a...
her form and design was for these weird
sort of sex sort of caricature. It was a sexy character. It was
super
it wasn't
European.
for kids.
Right, okay.
Like you'd see it and you'd go, yeah, you expect that from Europe,
Right.
but you don't expect it from America.
I could swear it was Japan.
Europe or Scandinavia.
But they took that doll idea and thought, right, okay, let's run with it. Let's give girls a fashion doll.
And that had its ups and downs as well, didn't it?
Hugely.
Who was it? The woman from Mattel, the boss from Mattel, that was shipping out loads and loads of dolls, like in truckloads,
Yep.
and hiding them in places and getting them written off,
Yep.
so that she could keep her sales numbers topped up.
Yep. She faced jail time for that.
Yeah,
didn't
she did, yeah.
Big time.
Well, it's fair enough.
Yeah. And then we went to... Was it Masters of the Universe or G.I. Joe next?
I think it was G.I. Joe.
Was it G.I. Joe?
There was some interesting stuff in there
Yeah.
as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So that was that Kenner again?
That's Hasbro.
Hasbro.
And they were trying to compete with Kenner. And
So-
there's some internal politics there because I think the guy who ran Hasbro, or I think it was the guy who runs Kenner, used to work for Hasbro.
Right.
And left and set up. And so the idea that they had Star Wars and they'd been so successful really pissed them off.
Right.
So they had to come up with their own action figure, and they had Action Man for quite some time, but they had to then start competing with the 3 3/4 inch that then became the standard. So
But
that's
they were
where G.I. Joe
massively
came
successful
from.
as well,
Hugely. And the most
one of
popular
the
characters
stats was like 1 in every 4 boys in the world had a G.I. Joe toy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's absolutely insane. And they hold the record for making the largest play sets as well.
Yeah, they had so much money. In actual fact, this is happening again with Star Wars, I hear.
Yeah,
they're about to release some giant play sets, aren't they?
they are doing a 6-foot Jabba sail barge, but only if they're crowdfunding it.
Right. Okay.
But if they get 5,000 orders,
No. I heard an argument about this on a podcast. It was probably the same one we've listened to.
it was tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not crowdfunded. It's committing to buy rather than
Yeah.
crowdfunding. Yeah.
So it's like what they did with the first 12 figures again.
Yeah.
Pay in
exactly.
advance,
Yeah.
and we'll make it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that aircraft carrier in the flesh?
Not in the flesh. It's 7 foot. Like
G.I.
7
Joe-
foot, that thing.
G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. Yeah?
I've never seen one in the flag. The flag.
You'd have to have a massive house to be able to buy that for your kids.
It's insanely huge.
7 foot long.
Yeah. I knew a guy who used to own one, and then his house got flooded, and the whole lot
It's a
got
boat, mate.
destroyed.
Float, mate.
Well, you'd have thought so, but it was in a basement, and his whole house went, and all that went with it.
Right.
It was just
That
ridiculous.
that whole story you said then sounds exactly like, oh yeah, my uncle works for Nintendo. Completed Mario 3. It's not even out yet, mate. That sounds like the most amount of playground bullshit ever.
It was a guy who's actually he started me off listening to geek podcasts. He was one of the original sort of geeky podcast guys.
Right.
Back to the 80s, it was called, and the guy was called Jeremy. And he sort of, after he lost everything, he sort of took a step back for a little while. So I think he's getting back into it now. But for
Had a little
years,
whirl
he's
himself.
thought, yeah, I can't face this shit anymore for a little while. So yeah, I don't blame him.
An expensive collection to be losing.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff must be so
Insane.
ridiculously valuable.
Yeah.
It's not the only giant playset they did as well. There was another one, wasn't there?
They did several. They did it's a shuttle with a shuttle base. That was
Right.
quite big. I forget the name of that one.
So they were manufacturing. They were making so much money. They were making toys that they couldn't sell, and they knew they couldn't sell because the vast majority of people who they were targeting couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
Yeah, including the tank, the motorized tank that was mentioned in that section. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But
What? Because like things would cost $100 or £100,
Yep.
and you just wouldn't get anywhere near them. No.
But I do remember some of my friends having.
Oh yeah, I had a friend of family, and at the time you don't realise like how wealthy they are.
Yeah.
But they're like both his mum and dad were solicitors,
Right.
and they lived in this fucking massive house, and he had I was probably too old to have them by then, but he had Scorponok and the T-Rex one
Scorponok, what the
Scorponok
from Transformers.
Transformers
and they
evil
would have
base
both
thing, yeah?
Triptychon.
Scorponok and Triptychon, and they would have both been like
Which
way
one?
out of price range for most people.
Who's
wouldn't
Triptychon?
they?
Is that the Autobot
Triptychon
one?
was he was the like a T-Rex, like a
the
Godzilla-esque.
Mechagodzilla.
All right, don't remember that.
Yeah, it's a belter.
Okay.
Like I knew people had Metroplex, but not any of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't really know anyone who had too many GI Joes or
Yeah, but-
Action Forces. It was called over here.
Yeah, true. But, according to the stats, ridiculously popular. I did have quite a few at one point. I was collecting them for a little while.
Yeah,
So
it was
did have
when I was a
good
kid.
number.
I didn't have many. It was one of those things you just picked up on a whim. And this
Yeah.
one I really I'd like to get hold of again now, but he's got stupid money. And it was Zartan. I don't know if you remember that one. He had he's the master of disguise. and
It's
he
not
had
Sean
different-
Connery, is it?
No, not that Zartan. That's different altogether.
Is that Zarton?
Zarton, yeah. That's
Right.
a different kettle of fish altogether, that one.
With the gun god or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Is it Zartan Hand
Stone-
of Fate or something? Oh, Jesus.
It's that's definitely what those big heads are based on in Rick and Morty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Show me
What you got.
Anyway, yeah, go on.
So, and then He-Man. He-Man was fantastic.
Ah,
There's
yeah,
so
I
much,
couldn't remember what the other one was.
so much rivalry there. And what were they called? It was Lords of Power originally. It was going to be,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I think. And they
Something
said,
like
nah, Masters of the Universe. We fucking hate it. Well, it's too late. Sorry, we're going with it now. And it became the biggest. I mean, the amount of money they made, more money than any other toy line.
Really?
But for a really short period
Yeah,
of time.
Just dropped
They
out
were
of
a
fashion.
star that burnt so
Yeah.
so brightly.
And they tried desperately to claw it back by making a movie,
Yeah.
by rebooting the cartoon, both of which I actually enjoyed at the time. The movie is absolutely terrible.
But again,
I know
it's
really bad, but I remember enjoying it when I was a kid.
they did the similar thing to Commodore. They were on top of the world, but then while trying to stay on top, they made a couple of bad business decisions enough to make you drive off the cliff entirely.
I don't think it was their fault though with He-Man, was it?
Well,
It
the
just-
movie and the
Well, the movie is a bad decision, but it was falling out of favour before they made that choice. So
it's funny, isn't it?
people had just moved on to other things.
They're really cool toys, actually. In hindsight,
Yeah.
they really hold up well. They were well made. They're big and they're beefy, and like especially a lot of the bad guys are just cool.
I don't recall any of my He-Man figures breaking. Not unless like you just
Oh, you
span
could
it,
snap
span the
the,
waist and round and round and round and snap the elastic.
Yeah.
Eventually,
And you
but-
could never get an elastic band as thick as the one that you snap to
No.
really get it hold back together properly.
Yeah. But you're right, yeah, there was some really cool bad guys.
Modulock.
Modulock was, well,
That's the
She-Ra
ones that
technically,
stick.
but yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What, the red guy that
Yeah.
you stick together
Yeah,
as
with
a
like
She-Ra?
40-odd pieces. That's a She-Ra figure, yeah.
He just always reminded me a little bit. One of his heads looked a bit like Gollum from the Lord of the Rings cartoon.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, I like Modulock.
But that's the
But
beauty
my
of that.
favourite's Manny Faces because he has Manny
Manny
faces.
Faces.
Well, yeah, 3. But yeah.
But that was the beauty of She-Ra. I mean, it was the crossover idea there was
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's a really good idea, isn't it?
There
Just
should have been more of the crossover.
Yeah.
make this for girls. Off we go. Bang.
But that's what they seem to think. That's what they blamed, didn't it, at one point? That the fact She-Ra then became so popular, it put the He-Man figures out of favour with boys.
Oh, really?
That's what their thinking was. Now, the developers of She-Ra said, bollocks, that's definitely not true. It's just that He-Man was already failing by that point anyway, and he needed some new energy. But I don't know, maybe there was something to that.
If He-Man wasn't so ridiculously hench now, he would work, wouldn't he?
No, they've tried that though, haven't they? The New Adventures of He-Man, and he looked like...
It was a bit more manga-y, a bit more wafy, wasn't he?
It was more... Well, they were smaller figures for a start. They were just about 4-inch.
3/4 inch? 3 3/4 inch?
No, they were about 4-inch. And they were just sort of like... Do you remember Kenner brought out the... Was it the hench Star Wars figures?
Yeah,
Do you
the
remember
black
them?
series.
They were more like that.
Okay.
But it was He-Man, that sort of style.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you mean the Power of the Force, like when they rebooted
That's
Star
it,
Wars?
like
and
that.
they were so bad.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
But
That
the
Luke Skywalker's fucking dreadful.
the
in that.
He-Man reboot, it went out into space as well, didn't it? 'Cause
That's
they
it,
had
yeah.
space
Yeah, he was a
helmets and stuff.
space
Yeah.
man. It wasn't great. And then they revisited the original concept again in 2003.
Right.
So it was 2000X series. And that was apparently a brilliant cartoon. And the
It
figures...
was. I remember it.
Yeah.
It was an amazing cartoon,
I've
really
sold
well
some
produced.
I've sold some of the figures recently. They're incredible sculpts.
So this show then, The Toys That Made Us, obviously this is quite a good show for us because it's like
It's
ticking all of our
fantastic.
nostalgia boxes.
Yeah.
And teaching us loads of stuff that we didn't know about these things that we love.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely recommended. When does it start again, Ross? Do you know?
No, all I knew was that's all I read was that what the new episodes are going to be.
Right. Cool. We'll let you know as soon as we do, I suppose.
Totally.
Go and watch The Toys That Made Us. Even if it doesn't appeal to you, you still need to watch the Barbie one and probably watch them in order as well.
It's true, actually, yeah. Educationally, I think for
yeah.
everyone there should be something.
Watch them in order for definite. I mean, I was... what am I going to get out of the Barbie one? 10 minutes in, I was hooked. There was so much there. It's fascinating just to learn how the business was going to grow and what they were up to and the tricks they were pulling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very good.
If there's actually one thing I hate about the show, thinking about it.
The intro.
Yes.
Fucking terrible. I
really
nearly turned it
bad.
off at that point. I thought, no, I'm going to have to give it a go because I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, if this is going to be the tone of the entire show.
Yeah, it's bad,
So
isn't
please ignore that.
Good thing about watching it on Netflix, skip the intro.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. Right, okay, so that's our thoughts and opinions on those two things.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with a bit of a broader review show, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe with Adam back again. And we better give some honourable mentions for Libsyn and Stitcher.
Oh, those guys are amazing. I think they're going to be featuring in the next Toys That Made Us
Are they?
because they invented every toy
In the world ever.
ever and whatever will be.
They're like the... What do you call people that sit on the gold bullions? What are they called?
Bastards.
The original capitalists.
Rich bastards.
The original capitalists.
Greedy,
toy manufacturers.
rich bastards.
Right, yes. So, if you want to write in or anything like that, please do. snoothethecrew@gmail.com, podcast@snoonetwork.com. Throw a brick through Paul's front window.
I ain't got any windows left now.
Tweet at us, Snoo with the Crew.
37
Facebook.
Pippleton Lane.
10 King Road.
Any of the above. 10 King Road.
10 King Road.
Do you remember that? Oh, we got more Alan Partridge coming. Yeah, anyway, well, that's another podcast. But
It
yeah.
is, absolutely. Right,
Yeah.
let's get out of here. Let's go and have some dinner.
Right, sounds good.
Say goodbye, guys.
Pot noodle.
Goodbye.
Pot noodle.
Yeah.
Jesus. With hula hoops.
Yeah.
know we've stopped recording.
So, no, guys.
Just before we go, has anyone found out any more about Partridge?
No, it's meant to be a new TV series, though, isn't it?
I think. Well, I told you what I
Yeah.
read, what I thought was happening. Like,
Yeah, that would make sense.